Learning how to cite can take time, and I had to learn that. In this video, I'm going to walk through how to cite and reference. First off, we need to define the difference between citing and referencing, the most common ways to cite, and how to cite. Once I've defined that, I'll talk about the two easiest ways to cite, and I'll give you a tool that you can use to speed up the whole process. When I first learned how to cite, I didn't understand the difference between citing and referencing. A citation is an in-text reference to your source of information, whereas a reference is all the detail about that source that goes at the end of your work in a reference section that can also be called a bibliography. For example, this is one of my publications. If we scroll down to the introduction, we can see a citation in text. Here's our first citation, and it follows a sentence that has information in it that I got from this paper. And we can see other citations here throughout the introduction. Citations are really common in introductions, methods, discussion sections of scientific reports, the main body text of essays, and in every component of a literature review. But you will notice that there are some sections that don't have any references. For example, the abstract in a scientific report, as a general rule, has no citations. Now, because this is a published paper, if I select a citation, it will immediately jump me to my reference section, which is at the bottom of the paper. We can see here the reference section, and over here is the first citation that we were looking at, Gao, 2015. So that citation was the in-text reference to the source of information. Here I have all of the information. The reference has the author's name, the year of publication, the name of the publication, the name of the journal in this case, or it could be the name of a book. It also includes things like volume numbers, issue numbers, page numbers, and URLs, or DOIs, which is a type of URL. The two most common ways to cite are by name and year, or by citation order. In name and year, your citation has the name of the author, followed by the year of publication. And they're listed in chronological order, so the oldest paper goes first. For example, this publication uses the name and year citation system. We can see here the author's name, I'll explain et al. In just a moment, followed by the year of publication. In this next citation, we can see I've cited more than one paper. The first one, again, has the author and then the year, which is 2012, but our second paper is in 2015. So the older paper is first. It's in chronological order, but for both I have the name and the year of publication. In this particular reference style, where there is one author or a single author, you would just have their name followed by the year. When there are two authors, we have both their names listed in this style. Here's our first author and the name of the second author, followed by the year of publication. When there is three or more authors, it is most common to use the term et al. So Varela et al. 2018 means that Varela was the lead author on the paper, so it's the first name in the publication of the journal or book, and et al. Means there are at least three authors. In this way, anybody that reads this paper can instantly see there was two authors in this publication, two in this one, and at least three in this one. The other citation system uses citation order, and the Nature Journal is a great example of this. We can see here in this paper, if we scroll down, our first citation has the numbers 1 to 3 instead of a name and year. We can keep going through the paper to find the next citation, which has a number 4 next to it. So you can see they're always listed in citation order, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Again, because this is a published paper, if we select this citation 1 to 3, it will jump us down to the reference section. And you can see in these references, they are numbered in citation order, not alphabetically. So it's in the order that they appear in your work. In your undergrad, it's more common to use the name and year system, but it will vary from discipline to discipline. There are a lot of different citation and reference styles, but the most common ones you'll see in university are AMA, APA, MLA, Chicago, and Harvard. There is a difference when you're citing journals, books, images, or websites, but every reference style has what's called a LibGuide. The easiest way to find yours is to Google reference styles LibGuides and then add the name of your university at the end of it. For example, University of Western Australia. They'll have an introduction to referencing styles and some other things you can find, but they will have a guide to every single reference style in detail. For example, this one is for APA and it's the 7th edition or version of that style, so it's the most up to date. As you scroll down, it'll have some information, but the key part here is that it will have examples. For example, here's a single author publication and here's your example, so that you can just copy it. Here's 2 authors and here's 3 or more authors. As we were talking about before, just the author and then the year. This one uses an and symbol in APA rather than the word and. and here we see et al. For 3 or more authors. Every university library website will have a guide for every single reference style that your professor might choose from. And it will give you a specific example that you can follow for books, journals, images, websites. Some of the differences between these reference styles might just be the placement of a comma or a full stop or a bracket, or which words has italics or bold. And yes, you can lose marks if it doesn't match exactly. Your professor may ask for a specific type of reference style, or they may just ask that you're consistent all the way through. There are 2 easy ways to cite, and the first is directly into your Word document, and the second way is using a referencing software package like EndNote. Typing your citations manually into Word is the slower of the 2 methods, but it's also the simplest one. Let's use this example. Southwest Tanzania was warm in the Cretaceous and cooler in the Miocene-Pliocene. That's an example of information from one of my publications. To cite my paper, I need certain pieces of information. For example, I need to know how many authors there are, in this case there's more than 3, and what year it was published, so 2021. So in the sentence that contains the information where I need my citation, I pop in the name of the author, which in this case is me, et al., dot, comma for APA style, and then the year, 2021. What I find most helpful is when I'm citing, always highlight your citation. It helps you make sure that all your citations are correctly referenced when you finish your work. The best thing then is to have a reference section running as you write. So straight away, I need to add in this reference. You have 2 options here. You can either put in just the citation here as a reminder for you when you come to do your reference section at the end, or you can do it as you go. In this case, it's quite a slow method because you have to write each of the authors jumping backwards and forwards between your paper. So I'd have to put every single one of these authors in my reference. So, and we can see how this becomes quite slow. And I happen to know from years of experience where the dots and the commas go, that you might have to carefully copy that from your university's LibGuide. We have one more author. We then have the year. I then need the name of the publication. One good thing here is we can just copy that straight in, back in, and we can adjust the font later, that's fine. We then need the journal name, which is up here. And I need the volume number and the page number, which is up here. So you can see 577 is the volume number. This is the page number reference. So we have 577, and the page number reference here is 110539. And that's my reference. You can see that that's quite time consuming, so it can be easier to have all your citations in place for your reference section and then come through and do your references all in one go. The second citation method is much faster in the long run, but can take a little bit of time to set up. The best method here is to use Google Scholar. You can use your university library website, but what I've found is that their algorithms are generally terrible, whereas Google Scholar has a really great algorithm and will help you find the papers that you need really quickly. So for example, if we want to find that same paper, by me, that's just the area of study and my name, and this is that paper here. Now, you'll see below here, Cite. If we click on that, it brings up a range of types of citations for us, but here down the bottom you'll see EndNote. If we click on that, it will download that citation for us. Here we go. Then from your downloads folder, you can just double click on that citation. It will automatically go into EndNote, which you'll have to have downloaded onto your computer. Most universities will pay for the packages for all of their students, and you'll just need to download it from your library website. And we can see here the author details, the year, and the title of the publication. What I found really helpful here is then to attach your PDF over here. You simply click on that and select where you have that PDF saved, and it will import it for you. Once you've added the citation to EndNote, you can go back to the Word document and head over to the EndNote tab. You may have to activate this if it's not already visible. If we copy this sentence, let's insert that citation again using EndNote. We click on Insert Citation. I'm going to search for the lead author name, although you can search for any author that's listed in that publication. I'll just move this down a bit. We'll scroll down till we find it. There we are. Now it was 2021. and it's that publication there. So it brings up the details so I can see the other author names, the full name of the publication, year, the journal, page numbers, all of that information, so I can make sure that's the citation that I want. Then all I have to do is click insert. It will instantly put my citation here, and the best part about this is that it instantly has put my reference down the bottom. I didn't have to manually type it out at all. So you can see that this way is much faster. You also have a growing library in EndNote. For example, mine is now 1400 references that I can jump to at any time that I need. You can also change the citation or reference style in Word for EndNote, and that's up here. You can see here style I've selected APA 7th copy. And if we go here into select another style, it will bring them all up. And you can see there's a lot to choose from. I'm going to be honest, I never used EndNote during my undergrad. I found it a little bit confusing, so I did the slower method of manually typing them into Word. Also, I found that building a library of references didn't really help me in my undergrad because I did a science degree and I jumped from subject to subject. That most of the references that I used for a particular assessment in a subject in one semester, I never used again. But once I started my postgrad, I used EndNote for everything. I found it sped up my work incredibly. Now, the tool that I used during my undergrad was using Google Scholar and manually typing it into Word together to speed things up. Let me show you. Using that same example, here's our sentence. So I would manually type in my citation, but then I would go to Google Scholar. I would find the paper that I was looking for, and here if you click Cite, you'll see that there's some examples: MLA, APA, Chicago, Harvard, the most common types. What I would do here is simply highlight the reference that I wanted, copy it, jump back to my Word document, have my reference section, and paste it in. This one tip sped up every reference that I had to write, and you can use it in your assessments.